Welcome to this What's New in Excel Layouts for Developers session in the 2024 Wave 1. In this session, I'm going to talk to you about reporting capabilities in the new wave. So we're going to talk about the way to develop translatable reports, how to call Business Central APIs from Excel reports. Then I'm going to show you a preview of one of the new Excel reports that ship with Business Central as an example of how all this works. And then finally, a bit of preview on Excel Copilot on Business Central data. So let's get started. Translatable Excel reports is something that you will only need if you're an ISV, I assume. And Microsoft, we are an ISV, and for us to ship Excel reports, we needed these to be multi-language. So back in 23.3, we added the ability, or we added two Excel layouts that we always have a hidden worksheet with some extra static and runtime metadata. So we now show you, I can show you here, this worksheet with for static metadata, things from the report object itself. So things like what extension does it come from, blah, blah, blah. Most importantly for you as a report layout designer is the three things about this report title, about this report text, and the report help link. Because this gives you, if the report designer or the report object developer added this metadata for the teaching tip, title and text, and for the report context-specific help link, you can actually use this in the Excel report itself. If you want to provide like context-specific help, maybe a worksheet stating about this report, you can put that in there. The second thing that is very useful from this worksheet is the request properties. Now, not the request page, but the actual report requests. So this is where we now store the tenant ID, environment name type, and company name and company ID, and the date for when this report was run. And you can use this either in the layout itself, for instance, when the report was run, the date time for that, you can put it in the layout so that when people run the report, they can see when it was refreshed or when it was run. But refresh is also a new thing here because if you, and I'll show you some examples of that, the company or the environment name and the company name or company ID can be used in APIs so that you can refresh the data or you can augment the report data set with additional data from Business Central APIs. Then in 23.3, we also added a caption data worksheet, both with include caption on columns in the data items in the report data set, as well as any labels that you add in the labels section of the report object is now transferred into this worksheet so that you have all the captions from the report object available when you lay out. And of course, these will then be populated, the caption will be populated with values when the user actually runs the report. Then the final part of this, the most important part, also in version 23.3, is that we added the ability to translate all of this at runtime. So as a report author, you can now use translation tags or $$ for worksheet names, for chart headers, for pivot elements, slicer headers, and so on. When you lay out the Excel, and when you then upload and when people run the report with this Excel layout, the server will then replace these tags with values so that the report is translated to the language of the user when they ran the report. As a final thing, we also added what we called user-defined translation data worksheet, which means that in case you have texts or strings that you would like to be in the layout, but they are not present in the report object itself as captions there. You can add them to the translation data worksheet in the layout with the different languages available. So for instance, my layout title here is available in 4 different languages: Danish, US English, German, and French. And then depending on if the user, when they run the report, have one of these 4, that would then be translated. So you can now supply strings to the report layout that are not present as captions. So let's see an example of how this works. On the left, I have added the layout with this $$ syntax. And you can see 4 different things there. A cell that is going to be translated on the upper left. There's the worksheet name. There are the names on the slicers. And then there is the title in the chart. So when the user runs the report, in this case, in this example, it's a user that used Danish language. You can see that the cell is translated. You can see that the slicer titles are translated to Danish. You can see the chart title is translated, and finally that the worksheet is translated as well. To conclude, this means that if you are a VAR just adding an Excel report or in a report with Excel layouts for German customers, there's no need for this. But if you are an ISV, or if you work with customers that operate in multiple countries, where it's important that the users get the Excel reports in their own language, then this is for you to use. It's already present in version 23.3, but now this is the first time we talk about it in the launch event. All right, I mentioned that the new worksheet that was added in version 23.3 enables refreshable Excel reports. If only you load the data in Excel not from the report dataset, but using APIs and using Power Query. So how could such a thing work? Remember that when you call Business Central APIs, the URIs for these always have a structure that looks like this. Some URL API blah 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 dash v2 dash environment name dash API and so on. And then after this prefix of the URI comes the actual API that always starts with a company, with an identifier, and then the actual API you call. This means that you need two things. You need the environment name and you need the company ID to be able to construct such a URI. And the good thing is that these are now, exactly these 2 pieces of information are available on the new report metadata worksheet, the environment name and the company ID, also the company name. This means that if you open a new query in Power Query in Excel of type OData and maybe just put in a legal OData feed in there, then after the fact you can open the advanced editor, and instead of the URL that, for instance, this URL always works that you can see here, you can start constructing the URI for the API you want to call by referring to the worksheet with these 2. And now suddenly you have a Power Query query that reads from Business Central API, but using the environment name and the company when people run the report. This means that you can actually, if you think of it, if you want to, you can scale down the data set in the report object to something super simple, like maybe nothing almost. And then all the data loading, you can do that in Power Query from APIs. If you do that, then refreshing the data set from in Excel, you will then just refresh the data from the APIs. With version 24, with this new version, we also ship new Excel reports in the base application out of the box. And these are added to the Business Manager role center and Accountant role center on here under Excel reports. You can see them with their names, parentheses, preview. Or you can also search for preview on the report or role explorer, and then they would show up there. They are in preview because we still need to maybe tweak a few things. It's not that they're not showing the right amount of data or the right data, but it could be that we want to tweak the design a little bit, learn from users how they use these. But you as developer can also use these 7 new reports to kind of get a look and feel of how to code this new way of doing translatable reports, or maybe using Power Query or Power model things in Power Query or Power Pivot in Excel. So let's take a look at one of these, and just to give you an idea, and then you can explore at your own pace with the rest of these 7 reports. Let's have a look at one of these new Excel reports. Right, so I'm on the Business Manager role center, and you can see this menu Excel reports have the legacy reports that will likely be deprecated in a later version, and then these new preview reports that you should go take a look at. And what's better than take a look at what people owe me, right? I want to make sure I improve my cash flow. So I'll take the aged accounts receivables report. And there's nothing new to this request page. It's just click download, because that's the way we deal with Excel. Of course, actually a pro tip here, if you demo this with a customer, make sure that you show this with with OneDrive integration enabled, because then download will not be download, but actually just open in a new browser tab. But I was not as clever as you. So this downloads the new report, and let me open that. And let's have a look. So the first thing you notice is that you need to enable content. This is just a warning from Excel because we have some Power Query in the report. There's no way around it, at least not in the security setting on my computer. So I will click that. This will enable things to load in Power Query inside Excel. And now you can see the report as seen from the user has 3 different worksheets. By period, you can see dimensions. I can filter on that in these slicers. I can filter on the customer number and on the customer group. I can do the same by period here. There's now a new currency code. I can see that I need to work on this small box here. That's fine. You can see the $$ should of course have been translated, and let me have a look at that after the recording. And then due by currencies, again, there are slicers here, and that's the way the report looks as seen from the user. But we are developers. We want to dive into how things look under the hood. So let me go here and unhide all the worksheets that have been hidden. And now I get a little bit more. So translation data, this was the user-defined one. Apparently the developer from this report didn't need that, so this is empty. But if for some reason maybe you add a layout to an existing report and you don't have access to updating that report, you can add your own strings here. Caption data, this is where you get all the labels and captions. Let me make this a little bit bigger here in Excel. So now this is just populated. The value column here is populated at runtime from the language I used when I ran the report. And then these are the things you can use in your layout. Just point to any of these and do a VLOOKUP or similar. Then there is report parameters. There is the aggregated metadata here that we talked about with the report metadata, requests metadata. You can see here, these are the options when I ran the report from the request page and the filters that were added. I'm not sure that's going to be, at least I'm not expert enough to have that useful, but maybe you are. And then I have the actual data sets. So starting in version 23.0, there's a new option in Excel layouts that can give you each of the data item, the top level data items in the data set in its own worksheet. So you can see the first worksheet here is customer aging data. This one. The second one is dimension 1 and dimension 2. These are the 3 top level data items in that report. So go check out the new layouts, dissect them, see what the developer did, and learn from that. There might be some additional data modeling in Power Pivot and Power Query in some of them, so go have fun with that. The final part of this session, I don't know if it's so much developer, but I want to give you kind of a look and feel, because, and this is about Excel Copilot, it's still in preview in Excel, but how you can think of this, or maybe present this to customers as a different way to do reporting. Excel Copilot just needs the raw data set. And the good thing about Business Central and Excel is we have at least 2 ways for you to get that. There's open in Excel from any list page will open the raw data. And the second part is a report with Excel layout will also give you the raw data set directly in Excel. So that's a good, like Business Central leans itself well into Excel Copilot. Excel Copilot, you should think of this as a way to analyze, understand, and visualize your data with a Copilot experience. So for instance, maybe explore your data using Copilot natural language interface for it, or maybe let Copilot suggest things, maybe look for outliers and other things. And what's better than maybe let me show you an example of how this could look on some data. All right, back in Excel, I needed a little bit more data than in the previous example. So I took the accounts payables report, also one of the new reports. I pumped up Business Central with some more data, artificial data, so that Copilot has some food to chew on. But apart from that, I don't know what's going to happen here. So let's have a look. I enable Copilot on my data worksheet. Here, vendor, aging data, 100,000 rows. Let's have a look. And for this to work, by the way, must be the Excel workbook must be on OneDrive. So this is another benefit from enabling integration with Business Central to OneDrive is that Copilot Excel will just work out of the box when you use Excel layouts. Okay, so Copilot gives me some options, analyze, highlight, and I'm actually interested if Copilot can help me analyze this large volume of data. So click Analyze, let's see what happens. And Copilot comes with some suggestions. It could do some total of things over, but I would actually like to ask it whether it could analyze something that I'm not good as a person, as a human, and that is looking for outliers in the data. So I will see find me outliers and see if Copilot can come up with some maybe fraud detection or dubious, weird transactions that I might need to look into. This is accounts payable, so these are my vendors, people I owe money. Maybe there's something going on, one of them might, I don't know. Let's see if there's anything that is weird in this data set. So we are analyzing, and let's see if we can find some outliers in that data set. Actually, there is something going on here. So you can see Copilot here told me that for a particular vendor number here, let me just add it to a new worksheet and see what's going on. For this particular vendor here, there are at least 3 outliers with these different dates. So this date here in 2002, something going on here and here and here are 4 transactions that I need to look in further into. It might be totally okay. It might be something that is weird, but at least from the data set, these are outliers that look suspicious or not normal. So that could be one way for you to, or for your customers, to use Excel as a way to analyze for outliers. This is just one example of Copilot, Excel Copilot. Right, so of course, Copilot can only suggest things. I will still need to go check it in Business Central and have a person in the loop. That's the idea of all AI, that it is something that can suggest things for us, but we still need to have that person to be in the loop. Anyway, we are at the end of the session. Just a few learning resources. In case you want to learn more about reasoning over reporting and when Excel would be a good choice, go to aka.ms/BC developer. That takes you to developer docs. And under developer docs, there's this new article called Analyzing, Pivoting and Sharing Data in Business Central that shows you all the different types of artifacts for reporting: Power BI, Excel, data analysis on list and queries, Excel, so on. When should you use what and for whom? So go check that out. In the article, there's what we call the BI triangle, which puts these different tools for different personas, for different analytical purposes, where the tools shine the most. So make sure that you look into and understand scenarios for different personas and map these to technologies, so that you don't just do Excel reporting for everyone, for everything, but think carefully where Excel makes sense. For end users, for your customers, aka.ms/BC reporting is the documentation for anything related to BI and reporting in the product. Also here, how to use Excel, how to use Excel reports. So you can point your customers to this documentation page. If you are the type of person who wants to learn through examples or through sample code, aka.ms/BC Excel samples is your friend. I will try my very best to add new samples to this when I learn more, so that there will be different reports with different Excel layouts that you can open up and play around with and learn both techniques in Excel and techniques with reports in Business Central. And with that, a few go-dos. Start providing Excel reports for analytics. Know the BI triangle. If you are an ISV or have customers who work in multiple languages, think about how you can deliver multi-language Excel reports in your apps or in your solutions. And of course, start exploring, like with any Copilot, it's a new thing, and you might want to explore Excel Copilot on your own pace, so that you can also learn it and maybe learn it with users. That's it for this session. A few relevant launch event sessions. If you're interested in server architecture, this is still kind of server-ish. What's new in AL runtime and database might be of interest. What's new in web services is also server architecture. If you're more into things from a developer standpoint, of course, what's new in Visual Studio Code and AL development is your session. But also, there's a session called Key Updates in Learning Content for Developers that might be of interest as well. And also, if you do systems integrations, integrating Business Central with other systems through web services, there's a new learning session on a lot of new content for that, so go check that out. Then to conclude, AKA links, so take discussions to Yammer. BC Yammer is where we talk about things that we don't want to have on social media. BC All is the AKA link to rule them all, so go there to find all the other AKA links that are available for you as a partner. BC Ideas is where you suggest feature improvements and product improvements. We are on social media, X and LinkedIn, so join the conversation there. And if you want to join office hours, either live or recorded sessions, BC Office Hours is the AKA link that you should have. And with that, say thank you a lot for joining my session on Excel. Hope you have a great Business Central launch event. Thank you.